The arena pulsed with light, heat, and noise, an alien coliseum orbiting a dying star, carved into the crust of Zythor Prime. 10,000 species screamed from the tiers, their voices layered into an unintelligible roar, like a reactor core on the brink. At the center, kneeling in sand turned pink from centuries of spilled blood, was the newest offering to the crowd. Human. No armor. No weapons. Just the man, and the chain tight around his neck, dragging him forward. Pathetic creature. The announcer purred in a dozen languages. Fresh from Sol 3. What of those Terrans? Yes. They say their kind breeds fast, dies faster. Laughter from the stands. Some spectators hissed. A few tossed objects, scraps, bones, currency. Jace Marlowe didn't react. His face, marred by a swollen brow and split lip, remained unreadable. He knelt, head bowed, blood running down one arm like ink off a broken pen. He looked half dead. That was the point. A horn blared. Massive doors groaned open. The floor beneath vibrated with each step as his opponent entered, an 8-limbed monstrosity of glistening black chitin, its claws clicking in rhythm with the drums overhead. The crowd surged in excitement, ready to see another novelty species die fast. But Jace was already looking past the beast. Up beyond the force field. Straight into the eyes of Archregent Krek. Krek noticed. The beast charged. Jace moved. He rolled sideways, barely missing the initial swipe, then sprang to his feet, ducked a second strike, and leapt at the wall. His boots hit a support column and rebounded, twisting in the air. The chain snapped taut in his hands as he landed on the creature's back and wrapped it around the joint where two of its limbs connected. The thing screamed. A metallic howl. It bucked, spun, tried to throw him. He didn't let go. With one pull, he tore the chain back, dislocating the limb with a wet crunch. The audience gasped. The beast staggered. Jace dropped, slid under the belly, grabbed a loose spike of bone from the ground, and rammed it up through the creature's throat. One clean jab. Right into the soft junction under its mandibles. It spasmed. Then dropped. Silence fell. The announcer's voice stammered back into the air, off balance. Aha! The Terran survives his first round. Jay stepped back, breathing hard. The crowd started again, but differently this time. There were no jeers. Just muttering. Eyes narrowing. Watching. He looked up again. Krek's face had lost its smug tilt. Jace raised a hand slowly. Wiped the blood from his chin. His fingers brushed the thin steel tag around his neck. It hung just above the torn fabric of his undershirt, scratched, scuffed, but readable. He didn't speak. He didn't have to. Back inside the barracks, they locked him down. Literally. Chains into the floor. 2 guards with plasma spears. Neither met his eyes. He stared at the wall. Minutes passed. Or hours. Where'd you learn to fight like that? The voice came from the other cage. Across the hallway. Female. Reptilian accent. Jace didn't answer. They're betting on how long you last. I said you'd die in the 3rd round? I think I lost credits. Still nothing. You're not like the others. You don't scream. He shifted slightly. No point. The voice posed. Where are you from? Earth. You're the first I've seen. Maybe I'm not the first. Just the first you saw walk in. He heard her suck in breath. Then silence. Outside, the corridor lights flickered. Backup generators kicking in. Jace knew the hum of stress and machinery. The station's grid was overloaded, probably from the arena feed. The whole galaxy was watching. He reached up and tapped his tag once. In a back room somewhere, 2 Zythar technicians were staring at a diagnostic screen. One frowned. This serial, it's not from any council registry. Yeah. I ran it through the Gladiator logs. Nothing. Try DeepNet. The other hesitated. This might be encrypted. Try it anyway. A pause. Then a soft alert tone. Both stared. One leaned closer. Did that say awake? Back in the cell, Jace exhaled quietly. Not relief. Just confirmation. He'd counted on their curiosity. Someone always checked the tag. He leaned his head back against the wall, eyes closed. I'm not here to win, he said softly, not knowing if the other prisoner could hear. I'm here to be seen. There was no reply. Only the soft hum of power, and a distant sound of weapons being readied. Jace opened his eyes. Tomorrow would be round 2. And they had no idea what they just triggered. The arena lights strobed in violent blue, painting the sand like ocean water under a storm. The crowd had grown restless, louder, drunker. They didn't know what to expect anymore, and that made them dangerous. The spectacle had shifted from mockery to something sharper, curiosity laced with unease. No one liked not knowing the script. Jace stood at the gate again, wrists unchained this time. Either a sign of respect or arrogance. He suspected the latter. Across the field, 3 figures waited. Clad in reflective exoarmor, slits of red light humming along their limbs. Not beasts this time. Combat veterans. Synthetics. And they were watching him like predators who didn't need to eat, just enjoy the break. Round 2, said the arena announcer, trying too hard to sound excited. Let's see if lightning strikes twice. Jace stepped forward. No expression. No weapons. Just boots sinking into warm sand. The horn sounded. They moved fast, like synchronized blades. One flanked right, the other 2 closed in, boxing him tight. He dropped low, sliding between a sweep of armored legs, pivoted on one knee, and slammed his elbow into a knee joint. Something cracked. The synthetic spun, losing balance. Jace grabbed a handful of sand and flung it into the next attacker's optics. The third came in clean, a jab to the ribs, fast and brutal. Pain flared. He let it happen. Used the moment to wrap his arm around the bot's shoulder and twist hard, using the weight of the impact against itself. They hit the ground together. Jace jabbed a metal shard, snapped from a boot heel, into the gap under the synthetic's chin. 1 down. The crowd screamed. It was a different sound now. No cheering. More of a collective wince. The remaining 2 reset. No more games. Their movements shifted, precise now, calculating. They had underestimated him once. They wouldn't again. Jace exhaled, slow and even. A flicker in the corner of his vision, just a reflection in the arena wall. But enough. He turned, and the nearest synthetic was already mid-strike, blade arm arcing in a killing slash. Jace ducked under it, grabbing the bot's arm and spinning into a throw. He wasn't strong enough to throw it far. He didn't need to be. He threw it straight into the other one. A tangle of limbs. Sparks. Noise. Jace sprinted. Not away. Toward the arena wall. His boots dug in. He vaulted onto a column, kicked off, spun midair, and landed with both feet on the chest of the synthetic trying to rise. Metal cracked. A scream of shorted circuits. He rolled off, panting. One remained. Half buried in sand, its arm broken, one eye offline. Still crawling forward. Jace stepped over it. It reached for his ankle. He didn't kick it away. He crouched, leaned in close, and whispered something only the bot could hear. Then stood. The crowd was silent. He raised his hand. Tapped the dog tag once. Up in the control tower, Krex slammed his clawed hand into the table. This is unacceptable. The crowd's responding well, one of his advisors said carefully. High ratings. There's interest. This isn't about ratings. Krex's voice was low and hard. He's a message. The advisor frowned. From who? That's what I intend to find out. The technician from earlier reappeared on the tower's lower level. Nervous, sweat gleaming on his neck plates. My lord. We finished decrypting the tag. Krex turned. The technician swallowed. It's not identification. It's an activation marker. For what? Something called Hellwake. Krex froze. That's not a council protocol. No, sir. Who authorized this human's presence here? We thought he was a scavenger. Picked up near the ruins on Caldrith. No record. Craig turned back to the arena. Jay stood there, bloodied, arm hanging loose, breathing hard. But smiling. Just a little. I want him dead by tomorrow, Craig said. But the next match. Override it. Stage an accident. Anything. Below, Jace walked slowly out of the arena. He limped, left side numb. But his eyes were bright. In the barracks, the reptilian voice returned. Quieter now. You should be dead. Yeah, he muttered. Disappointing, isn't it? Why are you here? He sat on the floor, back against cold stone. So they'd look. They? The people who think the universe belongs to them. A pause. You're not just a soldier. He looked up. No. The voice wavered. What's Hellwake? He didn't answer. Because in the control rooms of Earth, red lights had already begun flashing. Officers with old scars and older eyes were pulling files from dark drawers, and someone had already asked. Who activated Marlowe? Somewhere far above Zythar Prime, a Terran stealth cruiser blinked into visible spectrum for 1 second, long enough to register its presence on Council radar. Then it vanished again. But now they knew. Someone was coming. The lights in the arena control chamber dimmed as the encryption cracked fully. Streams of ancient Terran code spilled across the holoscreens like veins of red lightning. The technicians stepped back, their skin losing color as if the data itself had stolen it. The phrase Hellwake Protocol pulsed at the center. No one spoke. Krek leaned forward, one talon clicking against the metal console. What is this? Not a signal, the tech whispered. It's a summoning. Krek's eyes narrowed. Explain. The tag wasn't just a distress beacon. It's a trigger. A buried relay system meant to activate if the carrier is publicly displayed. Displayed? Broadcast. Like in an arena. The words sank in slowly, dragging silence behind them. Krek turned toward the viewing screen where Jace's still frame was frozen mid-kill from the last match. Blood-covered. Smiling. Kill him, Krek said. Sir, we... Now. In the underchambers, 2 guards received a silent order. They didn't question it. They were professionals, wired, cold, efficient. Jace sat against the wall, eyes closed. One arm was still sore from the last match, but it worked. He heard the footsteps before the door slid open. They didn't say a word. Just entered with calm precision, weapons unholstered. Not for threats. For execution. Jace opened his eyes. You boys sure you want to do this? No answer. One guard stepped forward, aimed. Jace moved. Faster than the weapon could stabilize, he launched himself up, grabbing the man's wrist and twisting hard. The bone cracked. The sidearm dropped. Jace caught it mid-fall and shot the second guard clean through the visor. One shot. Down. He turned the first guard's body to the wall and slammed him into the panel. Alarms flared. I warned you, Jace muttered. He ran. Not toward the arena. Not up. Down. Through forgotten maintenance tunnels that hadn't seen light in decades. He followed the layout, etched in his mind since day one. Every step mapped, every hall counted. He had studied, not just survived. A siren echoed through the station. Crowds erupted in confusion. Broadcasters stammered, switching feeds midstream. Krek's voice barked over the system in frantic static. Order was breaking. Quickly. Jace slipped into the old observation deck. No guards. No lights. Just an old broadcast terminal still wired into the mainframe. He patched in. The feed cut. Every arena screen, every broadcast channel across the quadrant. Replaced by a single image, Jace Marlowe. His voice, low and clear, rolled across the stars. If you're watching this, your council made a mistake. They thought the arena was a message. They were right. He held up the tag between 2 fingers. But they didn't write it. We did. He dropped it. The tag hit the console with a soft clang. The feed went black. On Earth, that sound echoed. A file decrypted. Humanity's oldest military AI spoke for the first time in 40 years. Protocol HFY confirmed. Initiate orbital readiness. In Zythar airspace, ships shimmered into vision. No drive signature. No warning. Just shapes, hulking black silhouettes that didn't match any known make. A Council dreadnought scanned the lead vessel. No registry. No heat output. It didn't respond. Then it transmitted one word. Awakened. In the arena, the crowd panicked. Some thought it was part of the show. Others didn't wait. Stampedes broke out. Council officers tried to control the exits and were overrun. The illusion of order shattered like glass. Krek watched from the tower, breathing fast. "Where is he?" "Gone," a commander barked. "He breached the secondary tunnels. Systems are failing." "And, sir..." The officer hesitated. Krek's voice dropped to a hiss. "What now?" "There's movement in the arena dungeons. The prisoners, former champions, exiles, they're following him." The regent blinked. "What?" "They're calling him the Spark." In the chaos, Jace descended deeper. The walls shifted from steel to stone. The temperature dropped. This part of the complex predated the Council's occupation. Forgotten, ignored. He stepped through the last gate. The crowd behind him had grown. Scattered warriors. Gladiators with torn skin and broken teeth. They didn't ask questions. They followed because of what he did, and more importantly, because of what he hadn't done, die. In the central chamber, a vault waited. His hand slid across the control panel. The metal hummed beneath his skin. Terran tech always recognized its own. The door slid open. Inside, a crate sealed in black alloy, marked with a red triangle. One only he could open. He pressed his thumb to the lock. The crate hissed. Inside, a single matte black rifle, compact and quiet. No alien had ever seen it before. Jace picked it up. Time to end the broadcast. Back in the control tower, Krek stared at the fleet readings. More ships were arriving. "This is an act of war," his aide said. Krek's claws curled. "No," he said. "This is worse." The first explosion wasn't the largest, just the loudest. It echoed through the bones of Zythar Prime like a gunshot in a cathedral. The arena's eastern tower erupted in flame, stone and alloy spraying skyward as if the moon itself had exhaled. The second blast followed seconds later, calculated, surgical. The power grid buckled. Inside the tower, Krek staggered back from the console, eyes wide as the lights flickered and died. The emergency system kicked in, just enough to reveal the chaos around him. Advisors running, alarms howling, screens shattering. From the upper decks, glass rained like glitter. He grabbed the nearest guard. "Where is he?" The guard's response was drowned out by another detonation somewhere below. The floor lurched. Something structural had given out. Outside, the crowd wasn't cheering anymore. Smoke rolled through the arena's skywalks. Alien nobles, delegates, and observers sprinted for escaped ships, if they hadn't already been swallowed by fire or buried in the collapsing balconies. Jace moved through the underhalls without hesitation. He didn't run. He didn't need to. The place was unraveling around him, and he was always a few steps ahead of it. His rifle hung loose in his grip. A few warriors followed at a distance, those who'd broken from cells, others who just decided they'd rather die behind someone who acted than cower behind someone who ordered. He stopped at the first security gate and fired once. The lock assembly disintegrated. Doors parted. The path ahead opened into the broadcast core, every signal routed through a tower of nodes and coils that now glowed sickly from stress. It was meant to survive sieges. Not someone who knew where to cut. A maintenance hatch near the spine of the core revealed what he wanted: exposed coolant tubes, twisted control fuses, overclocked transmitters. He placed a palm-sized device against the relay. "Override accepted," it chimed softly. He pressed a second switch. Up in the sky, The Council dreadnought watching from orbit blinked with a sudden new transmission, hijacked. Every channel, every satellite, every observer link, replaced with Jace's voice. You were told to fear humans. The message echoed across hundreds of systems. They told you we were unstable, primitive, dangerous, that we'd crack under pressure, beg for mercy. A slow, pulsing image of Zythar Prime's arena filled the screen. Collapsing towers, shattered statues, smoke trails. You were wrong! In the tower, Craig stared in horror. Trace that signal! He barked. It's bouncing through dead satellites and encrypted relays, the comms officer yelled. We can't shut it down. I want his head on a spike. The floor shook again. Something exploded far beneath them. Jace kept walking. He reached the executive lifts, polished and used, too clean for someone like him. He stepped in and keyed the top level. A gentle hum. Ascent. No guards. They were either dead or had fled. His presence had become myth too quickly. Soldiers fought people. They didn't fight symbols. The lift opened into a curved chamber lined in black obsidian. Craig's command hall. He stepped out slowly. Craig stood at the far end, robes burned at the edges, eyes bloodshot, 2 guards at his side. You don't get to walk into my tower, the regent growled. Jace said nothing. The silence was heavier than any threat. You think this makes you powerful? Burning a stage? Making animals cheer? He approached, deliberate. You're nothing but a soldier. You take orders. You follow. You bleed. Jace raised the rifle. I lead, Craig spat. I shape nations. You. Jace fired. The guard to Craig's right dropped. Clean shot. No drama. The second hesitated. Then bolted. Craig flinched but held his ground. Why haven't you killed me? He asked. Because that would be mercy, Jace said. You're bluffing. The Council will answer for this. Earth won't survive open war. Jace stepped closer, lowering the rifle. There won't be a war. Craig's laugh was brittle. Then what will there be? A reckoning. He dropped something at Craig's feet. The dog tag. Craig stared down at it, confused. It's not just metal, Jace said. It's a trigger. A name. A warning. To who? To everyone watching, Jace said. This wasn't a battle. It was a broadcast. Craig reached down and picked it up, studying the etched code as if it might explain anything. It says you were dead, he muttered. Jace smiled. Yeah. I was. The chamber lights died. Outside, orbit shook. The Terran fleet had arrived in full. Cloaked, unannounced, silent, now revealed. 6 dreadnought-class ships. Black hulls. No insignia. Each transmitted the same signal. No negotiations. Only memory. Asterisk asterisk. Zythar Prime's skies turned red. Smoke curled from the broken spires of Zythar Prime like dying thoughts. What had once been the Galactic Council's proud arena world now resembled a carcass, picked apart by fire, silence, and memory. The Colosseum no longer screamed. It whispered. Orbit above the moon was no longer safe space. The Terran fleet had not fired a single shot. They hadn't needed to. Their presence alone fractured every known protocol. No species had ever approached Council airspace uninvited. Earth didn't ask. They arrived as if they'd always been watching. As if this was inevitable. Inside the charred remains of the upper tower, Jace stood over the now empty command console. The room around him was cracked, windows blown out, power flickering. He hadn't moved since Craig was taken. The region hadn't died in that tower. That wasn't the point. The crowd, what was left of them, had dragged him into the sands of his own arena. Jace didn't stay to watch what they did after. There were some lessons only experience could teach. Footsteps approached. A woman stepped through the half-burned doorway, dressed in a matte black uniform with no insignia. Her boots were clean. Her eyes were old. You never call, she said. Didn't need to, Jace replied. She nodded once. Fleet Command wants a report. You're looking at it. Her gaze drifted to the broken windows, the view of collapsed towers and flickering banners. You made your point. They made it for me. She stepped closer, studied him. You good? He shrugged. Still standing. She pulled something from her coat pocket and held it out. His tag. Cleaned. Polished. He took it but didn't put it back on. Hellwake's deactivated, she said. High Command agrees. This doesn't escalate further. Not yet. Jace stared out over the ruins. And if the Council retaliates? They won't, she said. They've seen what one human did without support. They know we let you in alone. If they push harder, we don't send one next time. He gave a dry smile. We send 5? She shook her head. We send the ones who don't speak on camera. He laughed softly, then let it fade. What happens to this place? He asked. Nothing, she said. It stays exactly like this. A reminder. He looked down at the tag in his hand. You ever wonder if they were right? About us? They are, she replied. But we're not wrong either. Outside, ships broke formation. Silent cruisers began to vanish again, dissolving into stealth space, their signals swallowed by vacuum. Earth's official statement was brief. 4 words. We have returned. Remember. Across Council worlds, news feeds looped footage of the man in the arena. Of collapsing towers. Of ships that didn't broadcast names. Jace's face appeared in statues and graffiti. The tag's serial number became a curse and a prayer in equal measure. In quiet places, whispers bloomed. Some feared the humans. Others hoped they would come back. A month later, a meeting was held on a neutral station orbiting a dead star. Council species convened, visibly shaken. No fanfare. No public feed. One counselor stood. The arena was never supposed to be a battlefield. It was theater. Control. A tool to break the wild and entertain the weak. Another replied. Then perhaps we chose the wrong actor. A third said nothing. She simply slid a datapad across the table. It contained Jace's image. Paused mid-step in a burning hallway. Her voice trembled when she spoke. He was one. The room fell still. How many more? Back on Earth, Jace sat beneath a tree that hadn't grown in soil for centuries. Bioreclamation had brought it back. A personal project. Not his. He hadn't gone home. Didn't know where that was anymore. But this patch of land, quiet, away from war tables and contingency rooms, was close enough. He dropped the tag into a fire pit, watched it melt slowly. It didn't resist. The woman from the tower sat across from him, boots off, watching the stars. They'll talk about you, she said. They already are. History tends to lie. Want me to write it down, right? No, he said. Let them figure it out. They sat in silence for a while. Eventually, she asked, Would you go back? If they asked? He didn't answer immediately. Then, if they forget? Far above, a beacon blinked once, then went dark. No alarms. No threats. Just silence. And that was enough. For now.